right, it is Esports Big Orange podcast. Charlie Burris, Zach Ragan. A wild week already, Zach, for a whole set of reasons. I guess primary among them, Faizon Brandon announced as Tennessee's quarterback. LSU is getting transfers from the NFL. Then the Big Ten is creating rules to stop players coming from the NFL. We're going to talk about it all on the Big Orange podcast. You and Austin had a segment yesterday about Faizon. Appreciate it. I'll touch on it in just a second before we get into what I want to talk about in this segment, which is the defense and the scrimmage over the weekend, kind of what we think of the defense at the moment. But we got to start the pot off here, Zach. It is August 25th when we're recording this, and the news came out earlier today that possibly the greatest East Tennessean to ever walk the planet that we all share died earlier today. Dolly Parton, and it's devastating. If you're an East Tennessean, I lived here. I was born in Nashville, but lived here for most of my life since I was like 6. And, going to Dollywood every summer was a big part of my childhood. And obviously, Dolly was ever present in sort of everything here. And then she's an international superstar. She's beloved across the world. Probably, I think I saw somebody post earlier today. She was maybe the only celebrity ever without enemies. Just everybody loved her. It was absolutely incredible. So we'll dedicate this show to Dolly. She's just the absolute best. I don't know if you want to say anything about it, Zach, but I knew we had to start off there.
Yeah, I think Dolly's one of those that I appreciated more the older I got. I mean, you always, my grandfather lived in Sevierville. Went to Dollywood and all those things, and it was, you always appreciated Dolly, but I think like what she stood for, the person she was, the older you get, the more you just realize what an incredible person she was, and man, I mean, 80, so young, you felt like she was immortal. Like that just seems impossible. So just really terrible news that I think, like you said, universally everybody was just, oh no, over this, because she truly was universally loved.
And just the stuff that she did, I don't think people around the world would not know the just profound impact she had on East Tennessee. We always talk about how the Haslams have their name on everything. And I don't always say that as a good thing, but Dolly was sort of everywhere too. And it was always a good thing. And it was quiet too. Like I texted you, I don't necessarily want to air this out on the podcast, the exact details of this, but I texted this to our group text earlier. Like I knew of where she had a part of her business where she was able to help a local Tennessee business. She's holding up a local Tennessee business through a business venture that she had that I've kind of been involved with. And it just like nobody knows. Nobody except the folks that work at that company know. And she's supporting all of these families and just done so much. It's not even direct charity work. It's she just chose a local company because she could. Yeah, and it's just crazy. She deserves all the praise that she's gotten for how awesome of a person she was. But RIP to an absolute just crazy legend and Dolly Parton. I don't know. I could keep going for an hour.
Oh yeah.
But let's just get to it, Zach. The scrimmage was over the weekend, and I'll start here because I didn't get to weigh in on it yesterday. But after the scrimmage, Josh Heupel names Faizon Brandon the starter, and for me personally, this is the right decision. It's what we kind of talked about all offseason. It's just that seems like that's where it's going. Heupel dropping at SEC Media Days that he's, first guy in the building, last guy to leave. You hear now this week that he never went home after fall ball.
Not even for his graduation.
He's just been there working, just like an absolute dog. And then today he was interviewed today by media, and he's extremely mature. And really just kind of talks above his age. He's just 18. He's not like a Jared Curtis at Vanderbilt who's 20. He's still just an 18-year-old kid. And it's really impressive. I'm really excited. Who knows how long the leash will be. necessarily. We'll see. But just the hope in a kid that has such a high ceiling, that has his athleticism, his possible ability, it's really exciting. I think it's the right choice, and yeah, it's good move.
Yeah, and I talked on it a lot yesterday with Austin. The one thing I'd add today, because I saw this last night, I don't know if you saw it or not, but Greg McElroy was talking about the quarterback situation. And he's got, he's played, he knows people, right? He's heard things about MacIntyre and Brandon, and he said one of the most encouraging things I've heard yet about this entire ordeal was that by the end it wasn't close, particularly close between Brandon and MacIntyre. And then he went on to say that MacIntyre had like a very good fall camp. So you got two really good quarterbacks. That just tells you that Brandon was at another level, and he's so young, and he's still learning this offense and getting reps with these receivers. It really is exciting to think about how good he could possibly be in this offense. And then, like you said, the maturity he showed today, he does not look 18. He looked huge sitting in that chair. If you saw like the up close videos where it's just from the shoulders up, I'm like, this is a NFL. I mean, there's NFL quarterbacks that he would make look tiny right now. And beyond the way he looks, the way he talks, just his priorities, everything that you want in a QB1. So hopefully Tennessee's got a dude. It sure feels like it. We'll see. We'll definitely see September 12th when they play at Georgia Tech.
We definitely will. And other good news that dropped today, as I mentioned, just so much going on today. Arian Carter gets his suspension taken down from 2 games to just 1. And I will not thank the NCAA. I will not congratulate anybody. The fact that it is 1 game still is completely nonsensical and ridiculous in light of what we're going to talk about in the second segment. Subscribe to the A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers YouTube channel so that you don't miss that one. But you have NFL players potentially returning to rosters in college football, and Arian Carter's going to get hit over $400 that he repaid for a flight from an agent. Or what are we truly? I think we've said this a ton, but I could not mean this any more than I do today. What are we doing? What are we doing? What is this sport? Where is this going? What is any of this at all? What even role, in any way, shape, or form, what role does the NCAA play at this point? It's I don't know, but I guess, hey, at least he's going to play against Georgia Tech. That's good.
The silliest thing about that whole ordeal is that I guarantee you Tennessee, LSU, Kentucky, Miami, they all spent way more than that flying Sam Levitt around the country so he could go on transfer visits. And Arian Carter did all that stuff while the portal was still open. People don't remember he withdrew from the draft on like the last or next to last day that the portal was open. So it was still very, very early on in the process. And it's just a matter of like, this expense came from an NFL agent, but all of Sam Levitt's expenses, because he wasn't paying for those flights to go visit all those schools. I mean, there's really no difference, right? It's just the NCAA wanted to be jerks about it, and I agree. They don't get any kudos for shortening it to a game. I'm glad that is the situation, because you're going to want him against Georgia Tech, and it doesn't matter against Furman, but it's still the dumbest thing in sports right now.
It is so stupid. And you had, who was it? Peter, what's his face from the SEC network?
Burns?
Peter Burns from the SEC network. He was tweeting about it today, but before the announcement came that the suspension got reduced.
It's the second time it's been reduced too, which is
just
nonsense.
And exactly speaks to how dumb it really is. Like, just how completely and utterly stupid that whole situation actually is. But hey, at least he's playing against Georgia Tech. I wish he would be able to participate in the tune-up game against probably not Fordham, Furman.
Hey, at least we know he'll stay healthy, because
that's true.
Furman could be dirty. We don't. They could be Akron. We have no idea.
That's a good point, actually. And because it was the Akron game where they took out
Tillman.
Yes, and
almost Hooker. I think his ankle kind of got rolled up on too. That game.
I think so. Now you say that, yeah. So Fine. Yeah, because you're definitely going to need him against Georgia Tech, and it gives him hopefully Georgia Tech in a way is a little bit of a tune-up game if you are more talented than Georgia Tech than I think they are. It sort of will be. I mean, it's a road environment. You got to take it extremely seriously, but I think Tennessee should win.
Yeah, I have
And
some
it's a
thoughts on
little
that game when we get to that for sure.
it's a scary one. It's a scary one. I mean, I don't want to act like I'm discounting it like Tennessee couldn't lose. They 100% could. But if you have your head screwed on straight, I think it is an opportunity to get ready for Texas in 2 weeks after that. So at least he'll be back at that point. That's good. Now, with all of that said, and talking about Arian Carter, let's talk about the defense. So the defense had a resurgent day at the scrimmage on Saturday. They looked pretty rough in that first scrimmage, and then supposedly in this one, a pick six on George MacIntyre, an interception on Faizon Brandon. Also, I might have been multiple interceptions on George MacIntyre. I think.
I think one was dropped, but it was described as a bad decision by him either way.
Yes, that's right. I think it was Trey Poteet dropped the interception. But regardless, it from everything that you heard from the folks that were there, the former players that reported to the media, that reported to us, you heard the defensive line, specifically Xavier Gilliam, is a really powerful dude there in the interior of the defensive line. Still no real word on how great the edge is going to be. I like Jordan Norman a lot, but that position, probably more than any position on the entire team, concerns me when you have your coach coming out in his media session saying, I don't know what we're going to do, but we'll figure it out. That's not exactly super encouraging, but we'll figure it out. And then, yeah, I think at linebacker, having Arian back for a big game like Georgia Tech, huge. And you just go from there. So what are you thinking on the defense, Zach, what are we, 10 days this season? So close.
Yeah. It sounds like that first scrimmage that, and I don't know if this was by design. I'm sure it was by design to some extent. I don't know if it was because of Jim Knowles or Josh Heupel or a collective effort. And maybe what they threw at the offense wasn't quite as exotic on that first scrimmage, and maybe that was Knowles seeing what certain guys could do and giving Heupel an opportunity to, see his offense clicking and maybe going against a defense that, maybe he thinks Tennessee's defense is going to be better than a lot of what they see this season. The second scrimmage sounded like Knowles was mixing things up quite a bit more, trying to disguise stuff and really throwing some tough stuff at the quarterbacks. So I think that's encouraging because it means that, one, this defense is picking up Knowles' system, because that's been one of the huge storylines all offseason is how are they going to pick everything up. And you hear a lot of good things, and then you see it in action in that second scrimmage. I think that's really encouraging going into the start of the season. I'm like you, the edge rushers are still a big concern because you just don't have proven guys there. As high as we are on Jordan Norman, he hasn't done it in the SEC, so you're really relying on the defensive line to step up and be a force, especially generating a pass rush. I mean, your interior defensive line is going to have to generate some pass rush and get home against some of these quarterbacks and still contain these guys. So it's going to be interesting to watch how that all plays out. But
and David Hobbs,
yeah,
in a boot with soreness or something, the reports come out.
And that's a big concern because he was one of your more versatile defensive linemen who you feel like can play inside, but can also rush the passer off the edge a little bit. He's an athletic guy. He's been beat up his whole career. He's had shoulder surgeries. He had a foot problem last year that caused him to miss the first 4 or 5 games of the year. He had a foot issue in the spring. It caused him to miss the back half of spring practice. Then you've got another foot issue popping up now. I don't know if it's the same foot that he dealt with in the spring. Sounds like it's not major. It's not broke. It's not something that's going to keep him out for half the season. But at the same time, I mean, we joke about it all the time. Heupel will not tell you anything. And we're going to see where he's at on Friday, knowing full well that the guy's out for 2 months. And you just never really know sometimes. And Hobbs is a guy I think you really need on this team. So there's zero reason to play him against Furman, in my opinion, even if he is healthy, not healthier. by then. I don't see any reason to push it. Honestly, we'll just have to see against Georgia Tech. I mean, that's a game that you definitely need to win. But I'd rather Hobbs miss that game and have him, and miss Kennesaw State and give him 3 games to get healthy going into Texas and Auburn and some of those big SEC games, as opposed to playing him against Georgia Tech and getting hurt. So that's a concern. But beyond that, on the defense, I think you're starting to feel pretty good, especially this secondary. Even after losing Farouk, it sounds like DeJuan Lane has filled in there nicely and made some plays, and you got some depth developing at cornerback. You mentioned Trey Petit that got the interception, almost had the interception earlier. So there's plenty to be excited about there. But again, it's just like everything that we say this time of year. We're going to have to see what actually happens when they play games that matter.
Yes, it's going to be really interesting. These first 3 games, hopefully everything looks good. You don't get any more injuries. And we see sort of exactly where you're at in the Georgia Tech game. It's Mendoza's little brother as the quarterback. I've been kind of looking at that as if he was the same dude as his brother, he'd be playing at Indiana right now.
He's never started. He's never started before.
Yeah.
Either. And Mendoza wasn't Mendoza until he spent some time at Cal.
Exactly.
Indiana.
And so there's probably potential there that he's going to be pretty solid, but in game 2 of his first starts ever, I think you could take advantage of the situation as Tennessee's defense, I guess is how I would put it. And
I think you'll see a little bit more of their offense too, because they have to play Colorado that first game, and I don't think anyone's expecting Colorado to be great, but they'll be more competitive than Furman. I mean, they'll have to go out there and win that game, Georgia Tech. So you'll be able to get to see a little bit of their identity on offense. I think that'll help. Whereas Tennessee I wouldn't be surprised if this Furman game, we're just like, well, that wasn't very exciting, because I think that's going to be by design.
Yes, I think you're going to be vanilla in that Furman game. I would expect Faizon plays 60% of the game, and they throw George in there.
Hopefully, you see some Staub even. I mean, I want to.
Yes.
Hopefully, it's that out of hand.
Yes, please. I hope so. But I do get the feeling that they'll probably try to play George, and I don't. Heupel hasn't done this as much in recent years, but kind of at the beginning, he sort of had this mentality of like, oh, even the backups, we're going to go full bore and we're going to run the ball down your throat. We're going to throw it. It doesn't matter. Stop us if you want to. I hope he does that with George, because I want George to get an actual feel for a game. He still really hasn't played much football.
No. I want to see him throw to Mike Matthews and Braylon Staley, because I mentioned it to Austin when we were talking about the quarterback competition. If Faizon has to come out for a series to get checked for a concussion or something that's completely out of your control, which we've seen happen, we saw with Nico in 2024 a couple of times, I want to know that MacIntyre can go make some plays, and he needs some reps that aren't against East Tennessee State or New Mexico State in garbage time.
Yes, 100%. So in that first game, I'm not sure there's going to be that much to see, but Georgia Tech, it's coming right up. That Colorado game, it is at Bobby Dodd on Thursday, the 3rd, September 3rd.
That'd be something for Tennessee fans to watch, yeah.
Yeah, that one I will be tuning into to scope the opponent.
We'll scout and send Heupel our notes. That way he's a little more prepared.
Yes, he will consider those very valuable, I have no doubt at all. God, the ACC schedules are so goofy. They play Mercer after Tennessee, then Stanford. Sure.
Classic ACC rivalry.
so classic. Atlantic Coast Conference, Stanford. Duke, Virginia Tech, Boston College, Pitt, Louisville, Clemson, Wake Forest, and then, of course, Georgia at the end. But, man, that I don't want to say that is a complete joke of a schedule.
There's some worse. I think there's some worse, even worse than that.
But, my gosh, they got to play at Clemson. That would be tough. Tennessee would struggle in that game.
Yeah.
Louisville could be good, but all of these, Tennessee would sail to a 10-2 record in a schedule like that.
Yeah.
It's why? Why do we have to play in the SEC? Man. But anywho, I digress from that.
I will say back to the defense. One final point on there that we were talking about is that the one thing Heupel said this past week that I loved hearing. They asked if he thinks that this defense has a personality or identity, and he said, yes, absolutely. I think they've developed a personality. And I think that's huge because I think that was the big problem with Tim Banks last season. You heard Colt Kublik and McElroy and a lot of those guys that understand the X's and O's and played the game at a high level break down how Tim Banks' defense just never felt like it had a real identity. You never knew what he was going to run. And I think the players struggled at times because of that. We saw the miscommunications often because they didn't know who they were. It's like, okay, we're going to run this play. Then you're going to run this play that doesn't really match up with that play, but they're calling it anyway. Where are you supposed to be again? And it sounds like Knowles' defense has a little more identity and like a personality to it, like Heupel said, where, okay, this is who we want to be. This is what we're trying to do. We're calling plays, and this play builds off of that play, and we're going to make lull the offense into thinking we're going to do this. I think they're going to be set up for success more. I'm sure there will still be some missed assignments and stuff, especially early in the season, but it feels like a much better situation for Tennessee's defensive players.
I agree completely. As long as there aren't those moments where you're watching and you just go, like, do these guys even know where they're supposed to be?
Yeah.
That's what it looked like out there sometimes with Banks, man. They just look lost. And maybe with the new system and everything, maybe there will be moments like that, but just really let's keep those to a minimum. That's giving up points is going to happen.
Yeah.
That's just a given in college football, but I think the potential's there for this defense. We've said it before. If you can, what were you like in the 90s last year in total defense? Get that up to the 30s. Somewhere right in there.
I think you're in a really good spot. And I think that's possible because this defense was top 5 or 10 the year before in 24. Yeah. So, I mean, I think a lot of it was just the defensive coordinator. The players bear the responsibility at the end of the day. They got to execute, and the tackling was poor. But I think the defensive coordinator was like one of us on Madden, just picking plays off of a menu. And like, I don't know, let's go with that. Let's go with the 4-3, and then let's go into dime. I don't know.
It really looks that way sometimes. It really, really did. Well, let's finish the week out, Zach. We are going to talk about whether or not Tennessee should join in on the festivities that Lane Kiffin is taking part in at the moment, where it's sort of like, well, if you're going to be allowed to do it, maybe we should just take guys from the NFL. We'll talk about kind of the ethics of that whole situation in the final segment. Subscribe to the A to Z Sports Tennessee Volunteers YouTube channel to make sure that you don't miss it, and join us there. And we will see y'all in the next one.
See you guys later.